Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hello, you're listening to the podcast, So There I Was, which is how all great aviation stories begin. This is episode number 214, as in VMFA, I should say. Bob Black Sheep 214. How about that, repeat?
Right on. And this episode is kind of a train wreck in more ways than one. Because we're over a day late. My humble apologies for that, but we've got some great content, which caused us to be late in getting this out. So
we have a good excuse.
Yeah. So
yesterday was big time travel day home from the Harrier Sundown celebration. Yeah. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week.
We were at MCAS Cherry Point for the official AV8B Harrier retirement, send off the legacy into history, and its service history included Liberia, the Gulf Wars, Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, several MEUs, Southern Spear, and Absolute Resolve. Most recently, a jet that was on the edge of obscurity, as Brain put it, and worked its way back into being a relevant and but jet of predatory nature, a definite threat that you didn't want to be on the business end of. So,
for real. And for the first time ever, myself, you, Sticks, and Bago, all in the same place at the same time. I mean, literally in the same place at the same time.
That was very cool.
What did that look like? What did that look like? Holy cow.
That was wonderful, right? I mean,
yes.
What an amazing team we've got here. And those guys went over and above, and especially not to denigrate Bago's presence and assistance, but Sticks drove from New Hampshire to North Carolina, some 14 hours, and then was well over 16 hours getting home. Thank you, New Jersey, for your assistance in slowing him down.
Yeah, thanks a lot, New Jersey.
Well, the Mass Pike was also bad, he said, but he left at 8:15 yesterday morning and got home well after midnight.
That's so, and he was literally the FedEx van hauling all the shit back, right?
Yeah,
including your beautiful artwork from DCartworks.net.
Yep, DCartworks.net. Derek Combs was there. He provided us with tables and all kinds of extra support. In addition to being a sponsor, he has amazing stuff. I've got now a 2-foot Great American Bulldogs steel patch. This thing is gorgeous.
3D.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It is gorgeous. I'm getting one.
Yeah. Get yourself a set of wings. And he does any squadron. I mean, we got the Great American Bulldogs because it's the best squadron. But you can go second best and get your squadron logo done. We don't mind. He'll help you out.
Yeah.
So he made our wings of gold. He'll if you happen to be in the Air Force or the Air National Guard, I asked him. He says yes, we can indeed do wings made out of lead. So he'll do Air Force wings.
It's a slightly cheaper metal.
Yeah,
yeah, he'll give you a slight discount, right, for being a little subpar. But other than that, I'm sure they're awesome.
20% discount if you use code STIW. But reach out to Derek. I am telling you, I knew his stuff was good because I had my set of wings when I got there and saw the quality of work that he put into everything. Bottle openers, the glasses, beer glasses, whiskey glasses.
It's badass.
My God.
He is truly tail flashes. Tail flashes. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which would make great bookends on a bookshelf.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Or standalone by themselves. He's going to do all the AV8B Harrier Squadron Attack Squadron tail flashes and now fighter attack. But is what it is. And speaking of badass, he gave us some amazing photos. Thank you so much, badass. He gave us each a photo to sign and carry home with us. I want to say they're probably 12 by 16, 11 by 16, something like that. They were large.
Yeah.
And gorgeous.
Gorgeous pictures. And I thought they were all the same, but they were not.
No.
So there was a food fight over who was getting what after we signed them, but
yeah. Yeah, fantastic.
As usual, Bago won because he's quick. He's quick, agile, and sneaky. Yeah.
Skinny and young and fast. Don't get old; it's bad for your speed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this week though, what we're doing, this is kind of an abbreviated show? Yeah. Explain to them why we're doing or how we're doing that, Fig, over the next few weeks, especially.
Well, Repeat and I, and actually the whole gang, is there was a lot of moving parts. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And so on every other week, it'll be a short, I guess what we're calling it, a quick.
Shorter.
We recorded a dozen or so, maybe more. I kind of lost track. Stories from Marine Harrier pilots that we harangued into, giving us one story as they're passing by our setup there in the ready room at 223, and then again at King Mackerel's down at Morehead City the following day.
Right.
And so I think the idea is we're going to release a couple of those on the odd weeks.
Absolutely. And to include, and we got some good ones. All right. We got Gallo. You remember Major General Joe Anderson, Gallo?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And Lawman, had him in there together with Gallo. Good stuff. So we've got some amazing stories. This week we've got one from Strecken, who was not there, but his memory was jogged by a story I told a few weeks back. And he went, "Oh, I had something similar happen." And he recorded and sent in the story. Would you please do that too? We know you've got a story, and something we have said in one of our shows jogged us. Oh, that's something like that happened to me. Put it down on your iPhone. Give us 3 to 5 minutes. Tell us about it. Send it in.
And then maybe later we can talk you into a full-length episode.
Absolutely. That's the plan anyway.
But send us your story. Just a quick one.
Yeah. So we've got this week's Strecken. It's German. Look it up. And Trainwreck. I was down.
It was a great story. It's Trainwreck. And he's a Marine Harrier pilot, and how he got the call sign Trainwreck.
Yeah.
And it's a train wreck.
I was absolutely howling by the time. I had to turn my mic down when he was talking.
He's a great raconteur, and he tells a great story.
He does indeed. So we're going to have to get him on for a full episode. I don't have his contact information. Trainwreck, reach out and tell us where you are, because we need to get a hold of you and have you on.
Yeah. Send us your contact information.
Yeah. And the rest of you do the same. In the meantime, share the show. And until next week, I would say there's got to be some advice to offer them, Fig, as they prepare to launch.
Don't sit on the ejection handle. And for crying out loud, remember to arm the ejection seat.
That's always important. And buckle in. We got a couple of those stories. Oh, God.
Good God. I know, right?
Here comes Strecken and Trainwreck.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit on the tanker through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly...
Hello, Repeat. This is Strecken. I've just listened to your episode 212, and the one where you were counting a story of taxiing out in Fort Lauderdale late at night, and you almost ended up mounting a Citation 10. It reminded me of my very, very similar story. Didn't quite involve mounting, but anyway. So, there I was in Singapore, in Airbus A320. It was a 4-sector day. We're taxiing out on the third leg. The captain and myself very much suffering from get-there-itis as we were looking at getting home well after midnight. So doing a fair clip of 30 knots down the taxiway, heading towards the holding points of runway 02 center. And for those of you who don't know Singapore, well, back in 2010, it's a very well-lit airport, but this part of the airport is very dark, very few lights, just a few taxi lights around. And we could see a 737 well up in front of us, so we were confident just to let the aircraft run. And just like you were saying, Rippy, I suddenly got that feeling something's not right. And that very quickly turned into something's really not right, which made me put my feet up in the pedals. And then that morphed into, and I slammed the pedals down hard as I could, like shoved them through the freaking radome of the aircraft. And the captain turned to me and quite rightly said, WTF. And as we came to a shuddering stop, I set the parking brake and then I pointed out of the front windshield and up. Yeah, I pointed up. And as the captain let out a whistle of relief, I called ground and asked them for the call sign of the aircraft in front of us. And I contacted the gents, asked them if they wouldn't mind terribly or if they could put a few more lights on their plane. And nav lights came on, logo lights came on, and now we weren't just staring at the tail end of an APU. We're now seeing the entire aircraft. And it turned out to be a fully fuel-laden, passenger-laden, long-haul A340 bound for Europe that night. We had come within 30 meters, American show, 30 yards from giving these guys a very much unwanted colonoscopy. And quite frankly, I wasn't keen to be part of that either. So why couldn't we see them? Well, they said they had their anti-col light on, and I believe them. And like with most aircraft from behind, the anti-col light on the top of the fuselage, you're not going to see it because of the vertical stabilizer. But we should have been able to see the one on the belly of the fuselage. But the 340, like the MD-11, has a central landing gear, a gear that sits right in the center of the fuselage, and that was blocking our rear view of that anti-col light, and we had nothing to see. So as we taxied down, we saw the 737 in front of us, and that gave us the confidence that we had plenty of space between us and the supposed next aircraft. But why did we see the 737? Well, for those of you who are geeks among us, will know that the 737 stern nav light is actually two lights, one on each wingtip. So the one on the port side sat nicely between engines 1 and 2 of the 340, and the one on the starboard side sat nicely between engines 3 and 4. So that gave us that false illusion that there was nothing between us and that 737. Now I've learned my lesson. I've learned that taxiing down a part of an airport, unless I can see taxi lights all the way down the center in a dark part of the airport, I'm going to proceed a lot more cautiously from now on. And ironically enough, I was in Singapore a number of months ago, sitting at the holding point runway 02 center, telling my FO the same very story. And as I finished, I looked past him and noticed the 737 holding next to us on the right side had no nav lights and no logo lights. It seems to be very much a Singapore thing. But anyway, I'm curious how many other people have had the same story as we have. But more importantly, thank you very much for the show. I've been listening to you guys since the very beginning. Thank you to you, Repeat, to Fig, to Sticks, and for everyone else who's involved with the show. I really enjoy listening to the stories. Keep them coming, and bloody good job.
Oh, I hope do not press means press right away.
So there I was. Call sign's Trainwreck, and I'm gonna tell you briefly about how I got that call sign.
I love it. I love it already.
So this would have been 214, the Black Sheep, world famous. We were on our way over to Iraq for the second time, and we got a really good deal. We were going to stop in Hawaii, and the Harriers were going to do some training with the Hawaiian Air National Guard. So flying F-15s. So Harrier v F-15.
They didn't stand a chance.
They never stood a chance. So there I am. I'm a captain. I don't know much about the air-to-air arena. I've done some reading, and this is going to be some good training, dissimilar training between a Harrier and an F-15 Strike Eagle flown by a professional, instructor pilot. So we go into the Hawaiian Air National Guard briefing spaces, and there's this beautiful picture window in the briefing spaces looking out on a postcard perfect palm tree sand beach. We do the flight brief, and at the end of the brief, the lieutenant colonel looks over, he's like, "So can you do the hang 10 departure?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm sure I can do the hang 10 departure. I mean, I'll flip open the book and look at the departure, and I got this." So for those of you who have not been to Hawaii, there is a coral runway built right off of Honolulu International. It has 2 runways. One of them is right points right at downtown Waikiki. So the hang 10 departure involves getting on the runway, taking off, cleaning up, and staying low to accelerate about halfway across Waikiki Bay. And then you go vertical and you go straight up to 10,000 feet. And then you roll out and head north to the working areas. So that is pretty awesome to see from the beach. And it is very helpful if you have a jet that has an afterburner. Now, when he said, can you do the hang 10 departure? I said, well, I'm a Marine. I'm flying a Harrier. I can do pretty much anything. Hell, I was in the hold my beer mode. So he gets on the runway. I am getting ready to get on the runway. So he starts rolling. As soon as he starts rolling, I take the runway and I see him clean up. And then it's like a tennis court is flying with an F-15. They're huge.
Oh, yeah.
So he starts going vertical. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to work out. So I stay nice and low. I accelerate as fast as I can. The Harrier's pretty quick down low. So she gets up to, 400 plus. And now I'm pretty far across the bay. So I need to kind of start going up. So I ease into the vertical and the ground is falling away and I can see him rolling out and heading north. And now I'm just kind of watching the airspeed and the altitude and hoping this is going to work out. The airspeed is definitely going down and the altitude is going up. So that's expected, but the airspeed is going down quickly. Yes. And I realized that there's going to be a zero number for the airspeed reasonably soon. And then there will not be any more of me flying. I will depart and that would be extremely bad.
You'll start falling back down to the earth.
Yeah. So this is, 30 seconds into this flight. And I'm thinking if I depart, I'm going to be below 10,000 feet. So I'm going to have to eject in front of Waikiki Beach. That doesn't seem good. So at about 9,500 feet, I can feel it starting to get pretty soft. And I just kind of lean over, I'm at about, 80, 90 knots with some nozzles in now and just sort of limp into the vertical. And I get about 10,000 feet and I head north. So I did not depart. So that's great.
Well done.
Yeah. So
thank you.
A lesser aviator probably wouldn't have been able to pull that off.
Sure. I'm absolutely sure of that.
Yeah. So anyway, we do the flight and F-15 fighting a Harrier, not a very good fight. I'd like to tell you that I kicked his ass, but that is not in fact what happened.
Were there any witnesses?
Learning occurred. So finished up the flight and very low on gas at this point. And there was a C-130 and we were going to get some gas airborne and then go back and do another sortie. So I go point towards the tanker and I see that I am now extremely low on gas and I'm going to have exactly one plug. Just one. If I get right in, it's going to work out great. If I don't get right in, I'm going to have to do a bingo profile.
Yeah.
A joker profile. I'm sorry. So C-130 sees me he rolls out right in front of me. Everything's looking great. I go right into position. Now, I'm fleet average on most types of flying.
It's not so.
I am. But one thing I am really good at is getting in the basket. There's something about the sight picture. I've always been. Yep. So the Harrier, the probe is on the left side, sticking out, and it's kind of an awkward sight picture because you have to bring
it's conveniently
the basket
located.
Yeah.
Beam your head about 3 feet away.
Yeah. So there's a lot of spatial relations and you got to kind of figure some stuff out. So I have just kind of got that sight picture figured out. Closure with the basket is 2 to 5 knots. You do not want to be going faster than that. You want to be going, if you go too fast, then you can damage the probe, you can damage the basket. So I'm coming into position. My wingman, another Harrier. I've already finished with the F-15, so another Harrier is coming over on the other side. We're both in position. Everything's looking good. I'm like, this is going to be great. This is going to work out fine. With about 5 knots, so I'm, coming in with a little bit of heat. I plug into the basket, and as your previous guest mentioned, I saw something that I had never seen before, and it was bad. When I hit the basket, it was a dead hose. And so instead of a retraction mechanism pulling in the slack, it's like when you take a hose and you whip it.
Sine wave.
A sine wave goes up the hose and reflects off of the C-130 and then comes back down the hose. It's a very easy emergency procedure because all you can do is go to idle and get out of the basket if you have time to.
Before the sine wave gets there.
Before the sine wave gets back down. So because I had a lot of closure and time kind of slowed down at this point, and I think the pilot speak is, oh shit, was going through my mind because like this thing's going up and it's coming back down. It's like this big black cobra just coming back down towards me. I'm at idle. I don't get out of the basket. The hose rips off the basket, which is now stuck to my aircraft. There's about a 6-foot spring that is connected to the basket that it goes around the hose that is now banging around the intake of my single engine jet. And the hose is spraying fuel all over my jet, not going into the jet where it can be used, but all over the jet. So the people on the C-130, the observers are screaming, break away, break away. I'm like, I'm broken away. Like I can't break away any more than I'm broken away. I'm the most broken away I could be right now. Like, so I pull about 90 degrees to get away from the hose, which is spraying all over me. And at that point, my wingman, who had successfully gotten in, looked over and said, man, it looked like a train wreck on your side of the jet. Like there's stuff sprayed everywhere and people are screaming and your jet's like 90 degrees. So that is how Trainwreck stuck. Now there's a final portion of this. My wingman, whose call sign is Pom Pom, because he was a male cheerleader in college, Pom Pom is not the guy you want on your wing if you want things to be calm and everything's going to be fine. So he gets a little bit of gas. At this point, I am now officially in a full-blown fuel emergency. So I declare the emergency and I begin to execute a bingo profile, which means you do something very counterintuitive. You go full power in your jet that doesn't have much gas in it, and you climb as high as you can so that you are going to be very, very efficient up high. You can go almost to idle, and you can then just do it so that'll give you the most range to get where you're going. When you are in a steep climb, the Harrier's fuel probes read low. So you're pulling up how much fuel you are going to have when you get to your intended point of landing. And in this case, it was a negative number, which is bad. That means that's not going to work out.
We should go hit the tank. Oh.
So can't do that. So I've got the probe on. The basket's stuck on the probe, which is creating a lot of drag. I've got a spring that is banging around the intake, so I'm hoping that doesn't go into the intake and cause the engine to stop. And I'm climbing up, and I'm not sure I'm going to have enough gas to make it back to Hawaii. So Pom Pom gets a few 100 pounds of gas and then starts chasing me down to provide assistance.
Mutual support.
Yes, and I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. There was a little bit of grabbing the seat cushion with the old butt cheeks, and so I'm in the climb, and it actually takes kind of a long time. So you're just sort of sitting there. So Pom Pom, very professionally, is like, I think we should probably go through the pre-ejection checklist just in case. I'm like, you're right. All right. So we break out the checklist. We're lowering the seat. We're tightening the mask. We're stowing all the gear. I'm like, man, this is not making me feel more relaxed. So then we're climbing, and it's very quiet. And then Pom Pom says, I was watching the History Channel last night, and I wanted to share something with you. And I say, Pom Pom, I don't need this right now. I don't know what you're going to say, but I'm positive I don't want to hear it. And he's like, nope, this is important. Look down. I look down. He's like, did you know that the water we're flying over right now is the most shark-infested water in the world? He's like, there are more sharks down there than water. Like, it's mostly shark. He's like, so if you have to eject, you're going to need to get into that raft real quick. We actually call the raft the Shark Taco. It's actually a tiny little raft you can get in if you have to eject. So I'm like, man, this is not good. I don't like this. So level off, fuel comes back up. I'm going to have just a couple 100 pounds if I can just make it to K-Bay. All right. Final portion of the story, I promise. Is this too long?
No, you're doing.
Okay.
Come on, man.
Okay. All right. So the final chapter here, and this has to do with wanting to be awesome and wanting to, look awesome, right? So on a Marine Expeditionary Unit, you have the Harriers, and then you also have, at that time, the Frogs. And there's a love rivalry there. The CH-46 Frog. Yep. So there's a lot of shit talk that occurs on a MEU about how awesome you are relative to your peers. And there had been plenty of that on this particular MEU. We were very tight. But I had been explaining at length about how awesome the Harriers are. And so I knew that the entire Frog detachment was flying off of the boat and was going to be landing at K-Bay as we were coming back. So I wanted to make it back to Hickam Air Force Base, but K-Bay was slightly closer. So the first thought that went through my mind was, maybe I have enough gas to get to Hickam. And then I thought, if I run out of gas trying to make it to an airfield that is further away than K-Bay, that would be in the bad column. So I decided to do the professional thing. I am going to swallow my pride, and I'm going to go to K-Bay. So as we are on short final, and I say to Pom Pom, I really appreciate you coming with me, because this is going to suck a little bit, taxiing in with this probe and like having to explain all this to our Frog brothers and sisters. So I do appreciate the solidarity. He's like, I am definitely not coming with you. I just wanted to make sure you got this far. And then he like waves off and like takes off to Hickam. I'm like, yep, awesome. That's right. So he Blue Falconed out. So I land. I'm rolling out. It is Friday afternoon. And all 10 of the Frogs are side by side, and the last one is just spinning down, and there's about 250 Marines pouring out of the back of this thing. So I say to Tower, could I maybe, is there like a transient line or like somewhere around behind a hangar, it's like far into the airfield you could just put me? And he's like, no, we need you to shut down right next to the Frogs because you're part of that debt. So just taxi right on in there, and you're going to be number 11 right in there. So as I'm taxiing in, I might as well have been wearing a green wig and a red nose. Like, it was like the spring is bouncing up and down, and like I got this big probe stuck on, and I'm not even supposed to be there. They're like, what is going on here? What is this circumstance? So I taxi in, and it's paparazzi. I mean, everybody's got cameras going and the whole thing. So I get out, people come over, like, what happened? It's like, well, I'll tell you one thing: a lesser pilot would not have survived. That's my story.
That's a great story. Thanks, Trainwreck.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
Well, I've got a few things to say here, folks, and I'm going to ask you now to stay until the very end. You're not going to want to miss what I have to say there. We'll be back hard next week with a full episode, and the stories we collected in North Carolina, we'll be rolling those out over the next several weeks. You don't want to miss what's in that pipeline, I promise. First, a massive thank you to Sticks and Bago. These gents gave up 3 days of their lives away from their families to help us chase down Marines and capture the stories that deserve to be told. Brothers, we owe you. And to those of you who support this show financially, we're genuinely grateful that you have absolutely no financial sense whatsoever. Seriously, your accountant is concerned, your spouse is suspicious, and we are thriving because of it. Thank you. Folks, I'm going to also ask you to go to dcartworks.net. Derek Combs creates one-of-a-kind steel artwork that has to be seen to be believed. Period. Precision-cut, hand-finished pieces that carry the weight and legacy of military service in every line. Derek crafted Bulldog Squadron patches out of steel, and they are stunning. This is not merchandise. This is heirloom quality art built to last generations. Ready room, retirement gift, Father's Day, Christmas, you name it. Derek's work is the answer. DCArtworks.net is the place to go. Look at it, come up with your idea, reach out to Derek, and find out what he can do to make your vision come to life. Use the code STIW anytime, every time for 20% off. Thank you also to Badass, BDSAviationPhotography.com. The images he captured of the Harrier's final days are extraordinary. They're real, raw, beautiful documentation of what is now history. And thank you to the Dos Gringos. If you don't know who they are, you need to fix that immediately. Now, Before I go, I want to get serious. I need to say something, and I need you to really hear it. The Aviate-A and Aviate-B Harrier community was not a safe billet. Every Marine who strapped into that jet knew the risks. And I'm not just talking about the pilots. The mechanics who kept that jet in the air, the ordnancemen who armed her, the para-riggers in the seat shop who packed the gear that, God willing, a pilot would never need but absolutely had to trust with their life. The entire support structure of human beings who showed up every single day, and more often than not nights, did their jobs with precision, pride, and made it possible for that jet to fly. They all knew. None of them flinched. To every Marine who turned a wrench, hung a bomb, packed a chute, or did whatever it took to put that Harrier on the flight line, thank you. You're part of this. That legacy is yours forever. To their families, the spouses, the kids, the parents who held their breath on every deployment, thank you. Your strength made their service possible. And to the Gold Star families, the ones of the Harrier community who are carrying a loss that doesn't have an expiration date. This show, these stories, this retirement ceremony, it was for your Marine too, and we'll never stop saying their names. Godspeed, Marines.